Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to your favorite news destination. You're watching In Your Interest. And first up, we need to cut through the ambition just for a moment. Big Impact AI Summit 2026 that was inaugurated today. And for about 3 decades or so on, India and the IT story, it's been built on headcount. We're talking about real cost savings. But now we've got artificial intelligence. It's writing codes, it's automating testing, automating pretty much anything, and it's even designing new architectural AIs. So the real question that we're trying to ask here tonight on the segment is, are we upgrading this AI model fast enough, or are we clearly putting the disruption under the rug with pure play optimism? We've got a NITI Aayog report to decode, and what a great day to talk about this on the day when the AI Summit has been inaugurated. Take a look at this. Today marks a significant moment for India's future in technology and innovation. Visuals will tell you the same. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the India AI Impact Summit in the national capital, Bharat Mandapam, the venue. And this major global event brings together leaders from around the world to discuss how artificial intelligence can be used responsibly and for the benefit of everyone. This summit, running over the next few days, 5 days in total, aims to shape a shared approach, a collaborative effort to AI governance and collaboration, with India taking a leading role as the first developing nation to host such a gathering. And at the heart of this event is India's push to become a strong player in AI by 2035, often described as part of the vision for a Viksit Bharat. The government, through NITI Aayog, has released a detailed roadmap for our technology services sector. Right now, the sector is worth about $300 billion. The goal is to grow it to between $750 to $850 billion in the next decade by 2035, largely by making AI the main driver of this expansion. And to understand what this really means, let's look at the numbers. If we continue with the current way of doing things, business as usual with growth around 4 to 5% per year, the sector would reach only about $540 billion by 2035. That leaves a big gap of $250 to $300 billion short of that $850 billion target. But if we accelerate through AI, aiming for 10 to 11% growth, we could hit around $820 billion by 2035. And this AI boost could close that shortfall and position India much stronger on the world map. Now, the roadmap presented by the NITI Aayog outlines 5 clear areas where India can focus to make things happen. First up, agentic AI, which could add $40 to $50 billion by moving from charging for hours worked to delivering real AI-powered results and solutions. Number 2 on the list is software and products, targeting $20 to $25 billion by growing India's share in areas like cybersecurity. We're talking industry-specific software as a service. Third is, of course, infrastructure, adding $10 to $15 billion by building India into a major hub for data, for cloud and AI computing power. Fourth is innovation, innovation-led engineering, which could bring in $25 to $35 billion through research and development in fields like semiconductors, defense, biotechnology. The list goes on and on. And fifth is the India for India approach, potentially unlocking $40 to $60 billion by using artificial intelligence to solve problems in our own sectors such as healthcare, agriculture, banking. And here is a statistic that might surprise you as well. India generates 20% of the world's data. We are a data superpower, and data powers AI models. But we don't have the engine to process it yet. Currently, our data center capacity sits at 1.3 gigawatts. To hit these targets, we need to scale that up to 12 gigawatts by 2035. An esteemed set of panelists with us on the broadcast, and the big questions that we are asking tonight. How realistic is it for India to more than double its technology output in less than a decade, when advanced AI technologies are often kept closely guarded by leading countries? We produce 20% of the world's data, but we lack the infrastructure to refine it. Can we really build 10 times our current capacity in just 10 years? Or will our data continue to be processed on foreign shores? With us on the broadcast, Kanish Gaur, tech expert and founder, India Future Foundation, and Bhanuchandar Nagarajan, former consultant, World Bank and public policy expert. Bhanu, let's get the snowball rolling here. First and foremost, this roadmap, it talks about national scale reskilling. Do we realistically have the faculty, have the infrastructure, do we have the enterprise to retrain millions at the speed to reach that 850 billion target? And what a nice segue to talk about this. The Prime Minister just moments ago inaugurated the expo at the Impact AI Summit.
See, the report says that India is going to become an $11 trillion economy by 2035. We are around 4 trillion now. Okay, so let's keep it as 12 trillion so that it's easy. So we are going to go 3x from 4 trillion to 12 trillion, right? So if we have the same multiple for the software exports, or the software, not the exports, software industry, from 300 billion, it should easily reach 900 billion. So I think there's some sort of an underestimation here in the NITI Aayog data, saying that it's going to be around like 750 to 850 billion. So there's that one underestimation. Second is there is going to be more data, more innovation, and all of that will actually be thrown into the mix. And third is the dollar depreciation. So we actually we get into macroeconomic economy now, but I think as India grows, the currency will become stronger against the US, and that will add to the nominal growth. So in fact, so what I'm trying to say is it will grow from 300 to more than $1 trillion. So that's the easiest assumption. And the thing is, even if it goes, so of the $4 trillion that we are in now as GDP and going to $11, $12 trillion, of the $8 trillion growth that is going to happen, $7 trillion will happen in India. At least like $1 trillion will be based on exports and so on. So India's domestic market itself will drive a lot of these innovations and a lot of these improvements. That's number one. The last one is, what is IT? That's actually cleverly missing here, right? So defense is going to be all IT. If you use say telemedicine and robotics in health, that is going to be IT. If you use tele-education, education through internet, that is going to be IT. Media is going to be IT. Maybe there'll be a robot anchor in a few months or a few years. So you never know. So all of this is IT. So we do not know what it takes. But you hit the nail in the head, Kabir, when you began with the question of asking where is going to be the training. So okay, these numbers mean that we can achieve these numbers without people, without technology, with just technology, right? That is where India's peril is. Are we going to grow so fast using technology, leaving many people behind? That is going to be the question.
Execution versus aspiration. Execution versus aspiration. 3x and from 300 billion to 1 trillion. I mean, it sounds so good on paper, but is this roadmap actually a bold AI pivot, or is this an urgent reaction in the face of slowing growth and global competition, where essentially AI consumers will and when will we become architectures of our own AI growth?
See, the thing is, how much of manpower that we use, the current model is not going to work, that we spoke about a few days ago. The current headcount model of growing IT is not going to work. Now we are going to use technology more and more. So what happens to the people around? That is the big question. And we have around 63 million SMEs. Okay, so are we going to empower those SMEs some way actually to create employment? So these are the questions that we should be asking. And hopefully, we don't leave many people behind, and there is a massive amount of skilling. The report talks quite a bit about skilling, which is actually going to be very difficult because, not everybody. See, we are entering an era of agents, right? Even within human beings, the one with the most agency, not the one with the most knowledge is going to succeed. So not everybody is cut out to be an entrepreneur, right? So how that is? Can you bridge that skill? It's an attitude, right? So that is the question that we are going to face.
Okay, all right. I can see Kanish Gaur, AI expert, also with us on the broadcast. Kanish, I know it's a busy couple of days for all the AI experts across the length and breadth of the country, given that, the Impact AI Summit is underway. But this big leap that is in question with the NITI Aayog report, your thoughts on that? India wants to go from $265 to $300 billion worth of industry to now a $750 to $850 billion worth of industry. Bhanu Chandra here says from 300 to 1 trillion. But is this projection grounded in real AI value creation sitting in 2026 when we're talking about 2035? Is it even possible? Tripling the tech service revenue in about 10 years when AI is shrinking the very labor and the model that it's actually built on?
See, if you look at the growth potential of AI companies and the valuations they have been to drive, if we were to apply the use cases of those in India, there is tremendous growth which is possible right now. We do have the supporting backbone ecosystem through National Skill Development Mission, through various bodies like Software Technology Park of India, CDAC. But the whole thing is, how do you build out a larger model to put all of these resources for AI skilling? We have got big tech CEOs coming and saying that they are going to invest in India for fixing this AI skilling gap. But what is really required is the train-the-trainer model. So for a young population where you have 1.4 billion people in country, you need more train-the-trainer kind of models. And this has to be through classroom-based training. This has to be through hybrid training models where people have to really train people, whether it is IT, whether it is manufacturing, whether it is healthcare. There are use cases everywhere. So how do you apply these use cases and build the solution? Even in the energy sector, for better consumption of energy, for providing bandwidth, for internet connectivity, for solving medical problems, for finding drug solutions for cancer, there is AI which is available. But how quickly can you thrive? That's really the key. It's not about committing investment. It is about providing the right resources and ensuring whatever strategy NITI Aayog has created, it is implemented on ground.
No, you're absolutely right. The government has also put out, a press release. It spoke about AI-enabled healthcare ecosystems, talking about early detection, screening, enhanced clinical decision support, and bridging the last mile remote care. That's another important aspect that we do need to, stress upon. But when we're talking about agentic AI, that's number one on that list of how to meet that target of $850 billion, Kanishk. Is India ready to move from coding for the world to finally architecting AI systems for the world? Are we stepping in the right direction? Collaboration and AI summits, it's all great. Looks great, it's great optics. But will we be able to get there by 2035?
See, as per me, the answer is yes. If you get your workforce trained the right way, it is always a human in the loop. The AI skilling will happen where you have better trained professionals. The coding will become white coding, where the coding will be done by agentic AI-based agents. It's actually putting up the architecture to ensure the deployments happen the right way. A lot of times when white coding happens using AI, the solutions fail because no one has applied architectural mindset to ensure the gap is solved for. And these are short-term measures. So you have to build up long-term measures, have the right infrastructure, the right database. If you don't have the right database...
So to create this right database and for all these new value systems to mature, you need time. Does that shrink India's traditional revenue base before this new talent base finally matures?
I don't think so. It is about applying the right knowledge. You've got massive public databases where you have the APIs already available. It is about using agentic AI-based agents to connect those APIs to solve problems for healthcare, for solving problems for manufacturing, for solving problems for digital identity, sovereignty, making people cyber safe, also enabling right skilling for different workforce, whether it is education, whether it is higher research, all those areas could rapidly benefit from it. Now, you need champions in each of these sectors. So you will have to identify ambassadors who are going to be experts in each of these domains, who not only understand the domain, but also understand the application of AI. That's how you build larger solutions. You need more Nandan Nilekanis of the world who built Aadhaar. So imagine if you have to hire 5, 10, 15 Nandan Nilekanis, and you have to make them experts in each of the domains, whether it is healthcare, whether it is finance, whether it is about transforming workforce in this country. That is massive level of thinking, and it can only be done through public-private partnership, and the government can't alone do it.
Okay, okay. Many thanks for your submission. Professor Dr. Parin Somani, CEO of the London Organization of Skills Development, is also with us. Doctor, we're talking about a structural rewrite, at least that's what the NITI Aayog report talks about, but it also stresses a lot upon IP and product ambition. So it stresses on IP-led, platform-based growth. Indian tech firms, throw some light on that. Do they have the risk appetite and the capital depth to build globally on that front?
Yes, I would suggest that yes, there is a lot of potential to work on it, but exactly how my colleague just mentioned, that we need to have a right people at the right time to do that. India has got so much potential. I would say India can do many more miracles than any other countries in the world.
Okay, and what does that actually mean for the IT firms in terms of practical terms? You're somebody who's the CEO of the London Organization of Skills Development, retraining millions at that speed. Manuchandra earlier pointed on, threw some light on that. But when we talk about margins, when we talk about business models, when we're talking about hiring, will that now see a massive change? I mean, headcount and cost effectiveness is the name of the game here, and India does it better than anybody else. But now that game is suddenly changing. By the next decade, it needs to be 3 times, and we need to meet that target as well. And NITI Aayog thinks that we can actually do that. But when it comes to hiring, when it comes to margins, when it comes to business models, do we have the right infrastructure in place? Do we have the right appetite? Do we have the right faculty in place? Potential is one thing, ma'am, but will we be able to do it?
I think yes, we can do it. If we have set our target, why not? As a CEO of the London Organization of Skills Development, we have been doing it from last 5 years. And this is what we have been doing with Agentic, and we are trying to bring AI. So AI has become a very, very, very common in other countries than India, because right now I think so we are working on it. But if you look at the UK, US, Canada, and the Western country, we have got many more things with the Agentic, what they are doing with the AI. So that has reduced the cost, number one. That has given more employment rather losing, because people do get scared and worried that, oh, because AI has taken my job. It's not true. AI has given us a platform to give more jobs, to give more on agentic way.
All right, Mr. Dilip Chinoy, former Secretary General, FICCI, also with us on the broadcast. Many thanks for taking out the time, Mr. Chinoy. When you talk about R&D investment gap, India's private research and development spends remain modest compared to, the rest of the world, the global AI leaders, quote unquote. How will policy incentivize real capital commitment to this artificial intelligence IP creation? Why I'm asking you this is because that NITI Aayog report in question itself admits that there is a projected shortfall of about $250 to $300 billion. What are top 3 policy changes, reforms that must happen in the next 2 years, 24 months, for us to really meet pragmatically and fiscally that $850 billion AI target?
Thanks. And, actually, the report itself gives a set of policy prescriptions.
Yeah.
And one of it was exactly what, we were just talking about, was that we need to do a national AI talent mission. We do have the Future Skills program under MITI, MITI, and NASSCOM runs it, but we need a national reskilling program and protecting the 1.5 million jobs that are at risk. The second policy description is talking about data center economic zones. Some of it was actually announced in budget. Right, this this income tax exemption till 2047. We need special zones with reliable, high-quality power, preferably from renewable energy, not otherwise, because small modular nuclear reactors, renewables, advanced cooling, etc. And it's also talked about brand. India needs to project a unified India tech services brand, a platform to position small and medium specialist firms. And of course, then we got to do geopolitical lobbying, etc. And then the proverbial single window, which is easier said than done. We need to look at approvals for R&D. The 1 lakh crore fund that we have actually gives the debt to companies. Companies are averse to taking debt, so we need to find a mechanism for getting this R&D funds through to them and fast tracking approvals. Actually during COVID, we did a lot of this.
Yeah.
We're going to take some of the lessons there, which we used to fast track approvals, to give.
So, Mr. Shenoy, are those lessons enough? All the pertinent points that you've raised over here in the next 24 months. I mean, I'm listening to all of those. They all sound, real pragmatic. But is it possible in the next 24 months alone?
I think, we demonstrated it earlier during COVID, and if we take it as a whole of India approach and a whole of government approach, government, industry, and the non-governmental sector partnership, we can definitely do it. And I think, it is fairly clear that execution is a must, and this government is actually talking execution.
Okay. Bhanu, Lula da Silva, the French President Macron, you've got Sam Altman, DeepMind CEO is here in the country, Sri Lankan, top leader is here in the country. We're talking about real quality collaboration. But in a world where AI is pretty much top secret now, it's guarded like strategic ammunition. Can India really lead the way with collaboration? Is that going to be enough? Will we be able to, turn heads worldwide?
A quick point on skill before I answer that, Kabir, if you
okay.
See, the thing is, we spoke quite a bit. I mean, my esteemed panelists spoke quite a bit about skill building, right? So a couple of things we have to keep in mind. One is our track record in skilling is quite terrible. Okay, the Kaushal Vikas Yojana, for example, is not doing very well. So and second thing is, what skill are you going to train people on? Because the skills are getting obsolete every few months. So all of this is something that we have to keep in mind, and so at some point we will get into private sector certification and all that, but it all has to happen in the next few months. Okay, and a lot of our success in AI is going to depend on what we do outside AI. For example, do we have social safety nets? Okay, do we do it sustainably so that there is no social agitation? Okay, are we going to get the raw materials that we require for semiconductors, so on. So coming to your point, see, the thing is, there is a fair bit of competition in the AI space, right? For example, China has thrown open its LLMs in competition to the closed LLMs of the West. So I think competition will take care of that. We are starting to build our own LLMs, and today in the expo, I saw many of these node computing companies that have actually put out the stalls. So the technology is also advancing. So I think we may reach there late, but we will definitely reach there. I'm not worried about it, but I'm worried more about the social cohesion and how we take care of our people and make sure that the growth is equitable.
Okay. Kanishk, this NITI Aayog report, it talks about expanding the market share beyond 25%. And in a world where the United States and Chinese firms have dominated frontier AI models, where does India now look to capture that additional space, that additional share?
India will have to build up its own domestic LLMs, SLMs. What we currently lack is our own models, which could be baseline for building further startups. We have seen China coming out with DeepSeek. You have seen OpenAI. You have seen Claude. You have seen Anthropic. All of these are coming out in a big way. Now, Sarvam is the only one which we see from India.
Yep.
We need more Sarvams from India on which you can create more models which could solve use cases for different industry sectors. Until and unless you don't have that, it will be very difficult. Second is, you need to have the right compute. While India is in that race for infrastructures, for GPUs, I think the demand that we have for GPUs, there is still a massive gap in terms of meeting that demand. How do we speed up our production? So we'll have to build up our own supply lines. We'll have to partner with companies. Can NVIDIA provide us with those GPUs? Would we have a supply line with the semiconductor companies which are working with NVIDIA? Today, a lot of semiconductor companies which help in the creation are not willing to set up plants in India. TSMC decided not to move forward in India. Right? So all of that needs to change. The positioning of India needs to change, and we also have to give the basic infrastructure. China differentiated from India by providing that basic infrastructure for that fab unit to be set up. If you are not going to have the hardware, you can't build the software layer. You will always be dependent on another country to provide you that baseline infrastructure. So that needs to rapidly change in this And we do have the resources. It's only about putting a method to it and solving for that big problem right now. And we are seeing some of those initiatives being taken with HCL partnering with a semiconductor company from Taiwan. We have seen Foxconn making investments in India, but we need those models right now, specifically during these trade wars. India will have to develop its own self-sovereign systems and also still remain the hub for outsourcing or offshoring with AI. So AI-enabled services have to be built up on a stronger backbone. Just data centers are not enough. The right compute has to be there.
Absolutely. We need more servums. And I think, the Impact AI Summit is going to push us, is going to nudge us in the right direction. Completely run out of time here, but Mr. Chinoy, final 30 seconds to you. When we talk about agentic AI, when we talk about these 5, options that are listed out in that NITI Aayog report, we do need to talk about, social stability. And with social stability comes our jobs. If AI does disrupt that effort-based billing, what happens next? How does the government manage this short-term employment volatility?
I think the report also gives us a good example of what we can do if we apply AI intelligently. So if you take the healthcare example, which is quoted in the report, and if you look at the economic survey, which says that we don't necessarily need to look at SLMs, LLMs, etc. Let's look at applications. Let's be the king of applications, developing applications, and actually helping in doing applications that are really focused on the global south, and then be a leader there. And then obviously everybody wants to reduce the cost of healthcare, even if it's the US and Europe. And if you focus on applications, then we are much better there than only focusing on compute power, etc. So that's one very important message that is there coming out consistently over the last economic survey or the budget or this report and in many things. I think we should really focus on that.
All right. Dr. Samani, final words?
Yes. I would say, there are many things we can work, but exactly how we have to work, we need a proper infrastructure. We need to work with the right tools, which we already have got it, right resources, we still have got all the things. It's only the matter of putting things in a right place with the right time. We can achieve our goal, but make sure our missions and our aims and objective has to be that important, properly organized, that we can do in a right way. So I think we can achieve our goals.
All right, let's leave it at that high note. Big targets are easy to announce, but scaling from $300 billion to $850 billion means, from what we've understood, mass AI reskilling, deep R&D capital, global market access, steps taken today at that summit, and regulatory agility. Do we have time, bound reforms and funding to match this ambition? That's one question. Or are we betting on industry reinvention alone? On that note, all my panelists, many thanks for taking out the time. India's IT sector has reinvented itself before, but the question now isn't whether AI will transform the industry, it's whether India will lead that transformation or adapt to someone else's. And I think the answer is right in front of us. The big AI Impact Summit is right here, and India is going to be leading the charge. We're going to slip into a quick commercial breather here. Our top story coming right on the other side. Keep it within your interest.
झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया। दूरियां कोई अपनों में ना रहे, दिल में जब उमंग हो, घर है वही जहाँ सब संग हो, रिश्तों को रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग दो। Birla Opus Paints.
Every champion's journey starts with second thoughts.
क्या हुआ?
Till they see it's possible and there is someone who truly believes in them.
एक दिन बहुत बड़ा आदमी बनना है ना?
Orchids, the international school, raising 85,000 champions across India.
This isn't a trail of peace. This is pressure overload. A hill built for 1,000, forced to carry lakhs.
Instead of lightening the footprint, you have allowed people to actually get into every nook and corner of the Himalayas.
Careless travel, choking hills. If we don't change now, there won't be much left to enjoy.
We need to follow the Bhutan model, regulate people who can access hills.
News9 presents Heal the Hills, continuous coverage.
India's baby food scandal. That's right. That's coming up next. We'll break it down for you. Recent developments have put the spotlight on what goes into the food that we feed our babies. A recent Supreme Court order has once again brought attention to how packaged foods are labeled in the country. On the 11th of February this year, the Supreme Court heard a public interest litigation and expressed strong dissatisfaction with the slow progress by the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, known as FSSAI. The judges criticized the delays in implementing front-of-pack warning labels, simple, visible red flag style warnings on the front of packets for foods high in sugar, salt and saturated fat. Now, whilst this particular case focuses on processed foods in general and not specifically baby foods, the core issue of misleading our unclear labeling that hides high sugar or other risks overlaps closely with ongoing concerns about infant and baby nutrition products. This ties into other recent steps. In 2025, FSSAI formed an expert panel to review the rules on added sugar in baby foods. Under current norms, up to 20% of the total carbohydrates in these products can come from added sucrose or fructose, a provision that many health experts argue is too dangerous for infants under 2 years of age. Adding to the worries, in January this year, Nestle issued precautionary recalls of certain infant formula batches in multiple countries over a potential toxin called cereulide, which can cause vomiting and other symptoms. These events connect back to a 2024 investigation by Public Eye and IBFAN that pointed out differences in Nestle's Cerelac baby cereals. In Europe and the United Kingdom, the product is sold with zero added sugar, clearly labeled as such. In India and parts of Africa, similar versions contain added sugar averaging around 2.7 to 3 grams per serving. So, in a typical baby food label, maltodextrin turns into sugar, fruit concentrate means sugar, corn solids, additive sugar, dextrose, it's all sugar. It shows how these ingredients hide sweetness under the technical names. So in this context, we want to show two options. Which one would you choose for your own baby, considering how manufacturers treat the Indian market? One is ragi, milk and jaggery, made fresh, finished in days. The other comes sealed for a year. Refined flour, added sugar, palm oil, some additives as well. Same breakfast hour, but a very different story for both of these consumption patterns. If it's your child's plate, which one would you pick? Why does the same global company sell different versions of baby food with varying sugar levels in different countries? And what does that say about priorities? Is the current FSSAI limit of 20% added sugar in baby foods too lenient? And how quickly can the expert panel change it to protect our own babies and infants? With the Supreme Court now demanding urgent red flag labels, will FSSAI deliver clear warnings on high sugar baby products before more children develop these unhealthy sweet tooths and habits? With me on the broadcast, Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Chairman, Nephron Clinic, and Dr. Shikhar Sharma, founder, One Health, and somebody who's a veteran nutritionist is with us on the broadcast. You know what, Dr. Bagai, let's get the snowball rolling here. Label claims versus clinical reality. From a clinical point of view, I mean, parents often trust labels like organic, big, bold, natural, doctor recommended on these particular products. In your experience, do these labels reliably reflect the nutritional quality? 20% additive sugar, is that lenient or what? I mean, you've already developed a sweet tooth before you're even 3 years old.
Good evening. So I think a lot of the ads which come out are actually misleading and of complete misinformation. But more importantly, this is willful deceit or hiding the actual facts and figures. A lot of the products actually don't contain the actual nutrition, the true nutritional contents, and some of them give a content in a camouflaged version so that a common person who doesn't read the fine print is misled. Now, overall, as far as the sugar is concerned, small infants, especially children below the age of 1, it is not recommended to give any added sugar. Sugar is an inflammatory object. This molecule precipitates a cascades of inflammations and cytokine release, not only in the body, but in the brain, and it causes a huge amount of impact. Just allow me a couple of seconds and let me explain to the viewers what this added sugar in ultra-processed food can do.
Please go ahead, doctor.
So, worldwide studies have shown, in terms of multicentric trials, have shown increase in cardiovascular disease when these children grow up by almost 50%, risk of hypertension, dyslipidemias, obesity risk 40%, type 2 diabetes risk for 35%, cancers increased by 21% of 9 different organs in the body, neurological defects in terms of behavioral disorders, attention deficit, cognitive dysfunction, behavior, aggression, anxiety, almost 48%. It's a stress for the brain. And then what happens is it's called as a systemic spillover. So from this circulation, it spills over into the rest part of the body. And sugar is then a reward hormone like in the molecule in the body. More you take it, more the body wants. And there is an imbalance of what we call as dopamine and serotonin. These are two important hormones in the brain, which keeps giving stimulus to your centers in your brain, which we call as hypothalamus, that the body wants more. This is called as excitotoxicity. This is damaging the next generation. It's important that everyone gets to know added sugar is bad, excess sugar is bad, even if it is camouflaged as additive or artificial sweeteners. Babies should be kept away from it. Extra salt, extra sugar, flavoring agents, coloring agents is a big no-no for children, especially infants. This is where the brain is developing. This is our next generation at risk. We need to be careful, and public awareness must be created to put out the warnings for this.
Well, some of those names that I mentioned as well, maltodextrin, dextrose, glucose syrup, corn solids, fruit concentrates, often replacing the word sugar. I mean, what do parents make of this false sense of safety, Dr. Shikhar Sharma? How should parents interpret these, and how much sweetness is too much for our infants and babies and toddlers?
See, the first thing you have to realize is that whatever are these packaged foods for the children is a children's version of a junk food. It's a toddler's version of a junk food. Now, why I would say that firstly, they have a lot of preservatives, because most of these foods have a very high glycemic index, which is actually a material where bacteria, fungi will multiply very fast. So most of these manufacturers put a lot of preservatives, which are basically chemicals to kill bacteria and virus. Now, the same chemical is entering the gut, and in the baby's gut, which is developing, there is a good bacteria. So they also get killed in the process, which means that from babyhood, from toddlerhood, now the gut biome is adversely affected. When the gut biome gets affected, it affects the immunity of the baby, it affects the gut and the brain axis of the baby, and the child, because the child's intestine is not as strong as an adult, so a lot of chemicals actually pass through and enter the bloodstream and the liver. So the baby's liver from a toddler age starts getting affected. Now, please remember that compared to an adult, a baby's liver doesn't have the same detoxifying property as an adult. Because the liver is small, the functionality is less. So the exposure of these chemicals at a toddler stage causes far-reaching damage, not only to the liver, but also to the whole body compared to an adult. So this is a chemicals in a box, labeled as whatever you say, but they're chemicals in a box.
Well, Dr. Bagai, how do parents get beyond this false sense of safety? What can they do? I mean, so many in the urban setup, they rely on convenience as well.
So I think we need to move away from mutual convenience. It's very often said as easy on the lips and forever on your hips. So this is not something which is doing good to the newborns or to the infants and our next generation. Dr. Shikha just mentioned, and I'm just going to extrapolate it just in a couple of seconds more. These additives, sugars, preservatives are toxins which damage your gut membrane barrier. It is absorbed and your gut becomes leaky. This causes a host of hormonal and immune changes which predisposes these children later on in life to a huge amount of metabolic disorders. It is not uncanny to understand that all these pre-packed foods, ultra-processed foods, have a very high content of plastic. This is something which no one wants to talk about because it's a white elephant in the room. So let's push it underneath the carpet.
Yeah.
High content of bisphenol A, high content of what we call as DHT, phthalates, antimony, formaldehyde. Thousands and thousands of microparticles are being ingested by small children every day. This is why the next generation is becoming more infertile, more amounts of cases of PCOD, hypertension, diabetes, metabolic dysfunction, hormonal dysfunction. This is called as endocrine disruptors. These compounds are called as endocrine disruptors. That means they are anti-hormone. That means they are anti-estrogen. These particular molecules go and bind on to your estrogen sites and don't allow your normal body to act the way it should. So this is like I said, a huge amount of awareness needs to be created.
Absolutely.
Parents must know that what is right and what is wrong.
I mean, what you're spelling out for us, Dr. Bagai, is pure play danger. And, Dr. Sharma, when we're talking about homemade food versus the supermarket category of baby foods that we pick up from the markets, is it always black and white? Can the Cerelac actually be substituted? Help the parents here, help the viewers here. What kind of substitutes actually work?
See, fundamentally for a baby, no substitute works excepting natural food. And the reason I'm saying so is because, like I said, you're taking too much risk with the baby by giving them any chemical at all. I mean, so if you are making a ragi khichdi or you're making a barley porridge or you're making anything, it is made from food, which is food, real food. When we are having a sort of this convenience option, this convenience option may seem convenient and may look good with fruit pictures and this pictures and those pictures, but basically it is toxic for the baby. Now, the question is the mother doesn't realize because the baby starts having autoimmune disorders, allergies, asthma, skin problems, attention deficit disorders. And the mother doesn't even correlate that this is connected to what the baby's eating. So it's a double whammy the mother is going to
go through. No wonder little children are rushing for that, sugary cereal right in the morning. And you're absolutely right. We need much more awareness on this particular front. I'm afraid I've completely run out of time here. We need more time to discuss and decode this. Dr. Bagai and Dr. Sharma, many thanks for taking out the time. Baby food is not just another supermarket category. It's the foundation of a child's health, immunity and food habits, just like the doctors were telling us. In early nutrition, what we normalize today becomes what our children crave tomorrow. A little food for thought. And that's all the time we have for you in Your Interest. We're going to again catch you tomorrow. Many thanks for watching.
You are watching Global Lens. I'm Krishna Kumar. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that
He told US President Donald Trump last week that any US deal with Iran must include the dismantling of Iran's nuclear infrastructure, not just stopping the enrichment process. Speaking at the annual conference of presidents of major American Jewish organizations, Netanyahu said he is skeptical of a deal, but that it must include enriched material leaving Iran. Iran and the US renewed negotiations earlier this month to tackle their decades-long dispute over Tehran's nuclear program and avert a new military confrontation. The US has dispatched a second aircraft carrier to the region and is preparing for the possibility of a sustained military campaign if the talks do not succeed. A second round of talks between the US and Iran is slated for this week. Iran is pursuing a nuclear agreement with the US that delivers economic benefits for both sides.
I will not hide from you that I express my skepticism of any deal with Iran because, frankly, Iran is reliable on one thing. They lie and they cheat. But I said that if a deal is to be reached, it should have several components that we believe are important not only for the security of Israel, but for the security of the world. There shall be no enrichment capability, not stopping the enrichment process, but dismantle the equipment and the infrastructure that allows you to enrich in the first place.
Meanwhile, a second round of talks between Iran and the US is scheduled to take place in Geneva, in Switzerland on Tuesday. Ahead of those talks, Iran signaled flexibility on nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Iran said a deal must deliver economic gains for both sides. Earlier, Iran had threatened to strike US bases in West Asia if it is attacked by the American forces. But now it seems to have taken a conciliatory line. Iran and the US renewed negotiations earlier this month to tackle their decades-long dispute. And the US, meanwhile, had dispatched a second aircraft